Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Continue reading Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, Chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, Text 5, that's 4-5, Bhagavad-Gita. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bahuni me vyatitani Janmanita Vacharjuna Tanyaham Veda Sarvani Natvam Veta Parantapa. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the personality of Godhead said, Bahuni, many, me, of mine, Vititani, have passed, Janmani, births, Tava, of yours, Cha, and also Arjuna, O Arjuna, Tani, those, Aham, I, Veda, do know, Sarvani, all, Na, Tvam, you, Veta, no, Prantapa, O subduer of the enemy. The personality of Godhead said, many, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. Please repeat, if you wish. The personality of Godhead said, many, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the Brahma Samhita 5.33, we have informed of information of many, many incarnations of the Lord. It is stated there, Advaitam Achyutam Anadam Anantarupam Adyam Parana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is the original person, absolute, infallible, without beginning. Although expanded into unlimited forms, he is still the same original, the oldest, and the person always appearing as a fresh youth. Such eternal, blissful, all-knowing forms of the Lord are usually not understood by even the best Vedic scholars, but they are always manifest to pure, unalloyed devotees. It is also stated in Brahma Samhita 5.39, Ramadimurti Sukalanyamena Tishtan Nanavataram Akarad Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapumanyo Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is always situated in various incarnations such as Rama, Nrsimha, and many sub-incarnations as well, but who is the original personality of Godhead known as Krishna, and who incarnates personally also. In the Vedas also, it is said that the Lord, although one without a second, manifests himself in innumerable forms. He is like the Vaidurya stone, which changes color yet still remains one. All those multi-forms are understood by the pure, unalloyed devotees, but not by a simple study of the Vedas. Vedesha durlabam adurlabam atma bhakto devotees like Arjuna are constant companions of the Lord. And whenever the Lord incarnates, the associate devotees also incarnate in order to serve the Lord in different capacities. Arjuna is one of these devotees, and in this verse it is understood that some millions of years ago, when Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad-Gita to the sun god, Vivasvan, Arjuna, in a different capacity, was also present. But the difference between the Lord and Arjuna is that the Lord remembered the incident, whereas Arjuna could not remember. That is the difference between the part and parcel living entity and the Supreme Lord. Although Arjuna is addressed herein as the mighty hero who could subdue the enemies, he is unable to recall what had happened in his various past births. Therefore, a living entity, however great he may be in the material estimation, can never equal the Supreme Lord. Anyone who is a constant companion of the Lord is certainly a liberated person, but he cannot be equal to the Lord. The Lord is described in the Brahma Samhita as infallible, achyuta, which means that he never forgets himself, even though he is in material contact. Therefore, the Lord and the living entity can never be equal in all respects, even if the living entity is as liberated as Arjuna. Although Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord, he sometimes forgets the nature of the Lord. But by the divine grace, a devotee can at once understand the infallible condition of the Lord, whereas a non-devotee or a demon cannot understand this transcendental nature. Consequently, these descriptions in the Gita cannot be understood by demonic brains. Krishna remembers acts which were performed by him millions of years before, but Arjuna could not, despite the fact that both Krishna and Arjuna are eternal in nature. We may also note, however, that a living entity forgets everything due to his change of body. But the Lord remembers because he does not change his Sat Chit Ananda body. He is Advaita, which means there is no distinction between his body and himself. Everything in relation to him is spirit, whereas the conditioned soul is different from his material body. And because the Lord's body and self are identical, his position is always different from that of the ordinary living entity, even when he descends to the material platform. The demons cannot adjust themselves to this transcendental nature of the Lord, which the Lord himself explains in the following verse. Om Agyantimarandasya Jananjana Shlagya Chakshum Militam Yena Tatsmai Shri Gurave Namah Shrichaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Bhagavamayam Dadati Svaparantagam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translation repeated. The personality Godhead said, many births. This is 4-5 if you didn't know. Personality God said, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. So, Krishna is making a point here, and I guess Arjuna, he plays a nice role. Of course, he's liberated soul, he knows what's up, but he's playing a role so that we can know, because we don't know what's up. We're not like on that level. So he's asking the question, Sun God Vivasvan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? So Arjuna's prefacing the, or what is the right word? Getting Krishna to explain the difference between Krishna and the Jiva soul. So, but there's so many commonalities. For starters, we have 412 coming up. Matueva Sham Jatudna Sham Tvamni Me Janadiban Jaiva Nama Vispa Yama Sarve Vayamitapara. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor any of these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So Krishna's explaining that we're eternal. Many, many births you have passed, and I've been around, right? Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Chatur Shloki, states that, what you see now, Krishna is, before anything appeared, before even the material nature existed, I existed. All that you see now is me. And in the future, when everything's annihilated, all that will remain is me. So Krishna is definitely clearly stated throughout the texts, Vedic texts, that he's eternal and that we're also eternal. And like the sun is now, you could go outside and see the sun. Well, if it's cloudy out, I guess you can't. But in a blue sky, the sun's there, but when there's a lot of clouds, maybe somebody, challenging personality could say, there's no sun. But the sun is still there. Evidence of the sun is because it's bright outside. Even though you can't see the sun, or in the nighttime, the sun is still there. It's just, the earth, it's on the other side, where you can't see it right now. But it still exists. So similarly, Krishna appears and disappears from ordinary vision. But this doesn't mean that Krishna is dead. It doesn't mean that Krishna died of a arrow. And it's amazing the pastimes Krishna has just to give atheists and people like that some, because they want to believe this way. They want to believe that God died, that he's an ordinary person, and this and that. And Krishna fulfills their desire. Yes, you see, I die because a hunter shot me in the foot. You're right. See, yes. Of course, he won't say you're right, but I mean, he's giving them, he's fulfilling their desire. So many pastimes like this, that Krishna arranges to fulfill their desire. In fact, I meet Christians a lot of times. Your Krishna died from somebody shot him in the foot. And Jesus, he, this and that. So he fulfills their desires in this way. But it doesn't mean that Krishna is dead. Those who know, the only ones that know, Bhakti mama majanati yavan yachasmi tatvata tatomam tatvato gyatva visate tadnantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. So, if one is willing to engage in authorized bhakti-yoga, then one gets an understanding of what's really going on. And those that don't apply the science of Krishna consciousness, they get a different result. And that result is not very palatable. Alright, so the advanced souls, though, that apply the process, they can see Krishna always. Right? Forgot the verse, states that the advanced devotee, the Mahabhagavat, does not actually see form. He actually sees, things, but everywhere he goes, he sees Krishna. but he doesn't like see something as separate from Krishna. Certainly sees forms, but he doesn't like see them as separate from Krishna. So he's always fixed in Krishna consciousness. So, and there's another verse, those advanced souls can always see Vishnu's abode. They can always see the spiritual world. And because they can always see the spiritual world, they can show the spiritual world to others. So, and we can actually experience this. This is not hocus pocus, yeah, okay. But every devotee who's applied the process, Krishna reciprocates accordingly. I mean, there's countless stories of devotees having wonderful experiences. And I'm sure all of you had wonderful experiences where you do realize that Krishna is the Supreme Personality Godhead or whatever. And we have Nectar of Instruction 1, 2, I think it's 234 or 187. Atah Shri Krishna Namari Navaved Grayam Indriyai Sevamukeshi Jivado Svayameva Svarat Yada. The material, Krishna's transcendental name, fame, pastimes, etc., the material senses are transcendental. And because they're transcendental, therefore the material senses cannot appreciate them. So these material senses, this material body is dead. It's just dead matter. Prabhupada described wife as this. You can do it reversed. It's not an attack on women or anything. I'm not into that at all. But you just say the husband is whatever. But Prabhupada used the word wife because probably talking with brahmacharis or something. So he said a wife is just a dead body that flaps around for a little while. So it's material. The body is material energy. There's a jiva soul in there, but the body, the material body, is just dead matter. A dead body that flaps around. So material senses cannot appreciate them, but when one is awakened to the Krishna consciousness and renders service to Krishna by using his tongue to chant the holy name and taste the Lord's prasadam, his tongue becomes purified and gradually begins to understand who Krishna really is. Right? So, yeah. So qualitatively, Krishna and us are one, as we all know. Sat Chit Ananda. And the spiritual Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. You know, there's no difference between the spiritual body and the self. And we're full of knowledge, blissful and eternal. I already mentioned the eternal part, but full of knowledge. Actually, all this knowledge is within us. It needs to be awakened. Prabhupada describes how, yes, my disciples, they can go anywhere and defeat anybody. Why? Because Krishna within the heart is, explaining. And they have this knowledge. So the knowledge has been awakened. And Ananda, blissful by nature. So, but Krishna is making it very clear here, prompted, that's the word I want to use, prompted by Arjuna. Arjuna the pure devotee wants to see Krishna glorified. Wants everybody to know, Krishna is the Supreme Personality Godhead. They don't want to be on the altar going, look at me, everybody worship me. No, they want Krishna on the altar, and they want the whole world to worship Krishna and to know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality Godhead. Just like in the Rajasuya sacrifice, they were wondering who should be worshipped first. And there was silence for a while. And was it Sahadev? Spoke up and said, Krishna should be first to worship, right? He's the Supreme Personality Godhead, da 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 da. And of course the demons like Shishubal respond differently. What the heck? Why should we listen to this boy? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Krishna, he's like a crow, whatever else. So, it's a difference. The demons, they really don't know. They can't know. Why? Because sarvasya chaham radisani visto matas matir gyanam apohanam sha vedaishcha saveraham eva vedyo vedanta vedeva chaham. Krishna says, I am the Supreme Personality God. I am situated in everybody's heart. And from me come knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. I am the compiler of the Vedantas, I am the knower of the Vedas. So Krishna is like, he's in control of, he's the supreme controller. He's in control of us remembering, forgetting. If you want to forget, if you want to think that God is dead, Krishna will actually give you a whole knowledge set so that you actually believe that. I mean, really, if you talk to atheists, they really believe it. Like, they have that, they see things in a certain way and they're convinced. And they think we're crazy. And then if you want to be a devotee, you want to realize Krishna, you want to, go the smart route, you can get real knowledge, then we think they're crazy. And who is right? Who is right? Well, the devotee is right. Why? Because Krishna, things become self-manifested, self-understood. What is it? Revealed. Things become revealed. And it can't be denied. Because you can't deny your realization. Especially if it backs it up with Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. Vrigapati, a great book distributor, describes, when you go out on book distribution, you realize that Krishna is a person. And maybe you don't realize that Krishna is the supreme person. That certainly can happen. But you realize that somebody's controlling something. And that person, and that is a person. You realize that. And if you continue, of course, or maybe before you had realization that it was this person that's named Krishna. Because any book distributor knows, you go out, it just seems like a material activity. Okay, sell this guy a book. But the strangest things happen on book distribution. I remember trying to distribute a book and nobody would take. Nobody even would stop. I guess I was puffed up, thinking I'm the doer. Krishna wanted to teach me a lesson. And finally, I just screamed in my mind. Not a sound could be heard even this far away from me. I just screamed in my mind, nobody's ever going to stop today. And the guy tried to stop, immediately stopped in his tracks, turned around, came right back to me, said, how much? And by that time, I was practically crying. It was really emotionally. I don't know how you get on book distribution, have you tried it? But Krishna can really challenge the false ego and really put you into anyway, it's not bad, it's not mean, but it's just, I'm definitely emotionally there at that point. So I was like, don't mess with me, man. And I think he grabbed the book and gave me $20. And I'm like, hey, don't mess with me anymore, And the guy's like, okay, he's gonna put $20 in my pocket or something. I can't remember what it was. I'm like, and then I thought, now I know how to distribute books. Okay, nobody's ever gonna take a book today. And then this guy stopped, but he stopped kind of slower. Not the same immediate. He kind of stopped, kind of a little slow. And then I could easily approach him, and he took a book. But it wasn't the same. And then I tried it again, and it didn't work. So, Krishna's a person. We can't control this person. Only if we purely love him can we control him. Only this material energy. You can't control it unless unless you surrender to Krishna. You actually can't control it, period. But if you surrender to Krishna, then he's in control of material nature, and then he adjusts accordingly, right? So let me go back to my train of thought, my notes. So Krishna, it's made very clear, Krishna remembers everything. 50 zillion years ago, when you were in your bug body, you were in your bed bug body, and you were getting some agata sakriti by taking some blood from a devotee's body, right? And you had this thought, I'm going to climb this thing here. I'm so awesome. I'll take the shortcut over here. Gosh, I'm smart. And you had that thought. And Krishna can actually remembers that thought you had at that very point. Right now, he remembers that thought. And for all jivas, the unlimited supply, practically unlimited supply of jivas, or maybe it really is unlimited, I don't know how it works. He remembers every one of those, what they all did 50 trillion years ago. Exactly this moment. And, you know, we just don't have that ability. Even Arjuna, who has the ultimate qualifications, liberated soul, so powerful. Prabhupada said he's more intelligent, most intelligent person back then, when everybody was more intelligent than they are now. I mean, the qualifications of Arjuna are just, you know, obviously incredible. But even he doesn't remember. He was around on some capacity, Prabhupada said, but he does not remember this. And that was just a few million years ago, not a few trillion. So there's the difference. Also, it's pointed out that and why is there a difference? The difference is because Krishna never has, always is his body. He never changes his body in a sense. It's described as like the body is like the Vadurya stone. You know, it changes color. All of a sudden it's now Nishingadev, now it's Ram. You know, the Vadurya stone turns from red to green to yellow. Now it's whoever, Kurma, now it's Matsya, now it's Chaitanya, now it's Krishna, but it's the same stone. It's the same Krishna. So he never in a sense changes his body. And that's why he remembers everything. But because Arjuna is changing, or we are changing our bodies, we forget. Yes. Krishna writes or spoke, "For me there is no present or future." This means Krishna has no material body. But for us, in our material contaminated state, we may think that there's a past and a future. I was born in 1964, and when I was 13 I did this, but that's not how Krishna's brain works. Even when he was 120 years old, he looked like a youth, fresh youth, 16 or whatever it was, 24, I forgot the age, fresh youth. So because we have this material body, we forget. We offer a science to know what is beyond what you can't know by material science. So material scientists. So my point is I'm bringing it up to the point that people are accepting authorities, and the material scientists, you know, try to figure things out that way with our material facility. It only uses the material facility, which is fallible, right? And even the instruments that are used are fallible. Like, you can never really, if you take a tape measure and you want to know the distance to here, let alone what's in outer space a few billion miles away. What's the distance between here and here? Yeah, oh, and I can tell you. Measurement stick. I guess you use meters. Half a meter. Somebody could say, well, how do you know for sure? Because the meter stick says. Well, how do you know if the meter stick is accurate? All right, we'll get another meter stick. There, yeah, it says the same. Well, how do you know if that meter stick's accurate? Well, I would get it's an infinite progression or regression. Infinitely you could do that. So there's no proof that this is half a meter. There's no absolute proof. You can't say that this is a half, you can't prove it. One guru said, he was telling me, trying to explain things to me that I'm like, well, I can measure this, And he says, you can measure it, but don't believe it. I was like, what? Wow, that's quite a statement. Anyway, interesting ways of thinking. Point is you can't prove anything materially. You can't really know anything absolutely with just our material facility. But so you can't know, and you certainly can't know anything beyond the spiritual dimension through our material facilities. It's just not possible. So we offer a science as to realize what is beyond this fallible plane and realize what is infallible, what is eternal, what is spiritual. So we offer this science. So if you look at how, I'm not doing a dig on Indians here, but I'm just making the point, because actually Prabhupada made the point. Prabhupada made the point. Not a dig on Indians, don't worry, please. I don't have a prejudice. And actually I'm glorifying the Indians in just one moment. It says, Indians will go to the West because the education, they think authorities, they know, the scientists know, I'm going to learn from the authorities. The Americans that really want spiritual life, this is Prabhupada, this is me, this Prabhupada says this, uses it, that they go to India to learn from the sadhus the absolute truth. So everybody's accepting an authority. So, but it behooves us to accept the ultimate authority, Sri Krishna, through parampara. So Arjuna is clearing this difference between Krishna and us. Krishna's body is not changing, it is spiritual. Our body is material, it changes. Because of the change of bodies, we forget. But because Krishna is the source of remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness, by him we can remember, forget, or have knowledge awakened. Some living entities are given the opportunity to remember their past life. Now, I'm personally not into, unless you have absolute proof stating these Ian Stevenson's work and things like that, because there's a lot of people who use reincarnation proofs because Ian Stevenson did it. But at least I was told by one scientist that even Stevenson didn't record anything. And then his predecessor, the next person's successor, recorded, but didn't let anybody's names out to the public. That's what I've been told by scientists. So considering those things, I'm not going to use that, but I can use the Bhagavatam, where Bharat Maharaj, the person that was the son of Rishabhadev, the first son of Rishabhadev, who was an incarnation of Krishna, Rishabhadev is. He had a lot of sons. The first one was Bharat, and Bharat was wonderful. Great king, and he renounced it all and went for spiritual advancement and made it all the way up to Baba. And then a tiger, a tiger roared, and a pregnant deer jumped across the tiger, scared like anything, and was so pregnant that the baby deer plopped out of the womb into the river. The mother deer ran away into some cave, was so traumatized that she just died. And Bharat Maharaj is there watching this baby deer float down the river. So he picks it up and he, raises it, feeds it. That's a helpless deer. And you gotta understand, Bharat Maharaj used to be a king. Kshatriya spirit is to protect the praja, the citizens, which included back then, citizens were considered, they still should be, but back then they considered animals and plants even, any jivas, the praja, citizens. So he took care of the deer like anything and got attached to it. And time of death, he was thinking of the deer. And so he, at the time of death, he thought of deer, he went into the deer body. But in that deer body, because he made so much advancement, Krishna gave him the ability to remember where he went wrong. He's like, oh my God. Oh man, did I ever mess up? Here I am, I got this furry, can you imagine waking up and seeing furry deer body? Oh my God, I'm in a deer body. I mean, that would be trippy, right? Wouldn't you be flipping out? Holy smokes. Whoa. So he left this mother deer and went to the ashram area, I do believe, something like that, and just waited till he left his deer body. And then in his next lifetime, as Jad Bharat, he remembers both pastimes, his deer body pastimes, past lives, deer body and as Bharat. I was king of the planet. He's telling King Rahugana this. I was king of the planet. Because King Rahugana said, why are you walking around like a dullard, I'm afraid of bad association. I was Bharat Maharaj. I was king of the planet. This planet's named after me. And I went to this deer body because I was attached to this deer. I was almost there, almost at Prema. I messed up. Now I just don't want to mess up anymore. I want to go back, finish up, whatever. And so he's afraid. He's acting this way because of bad association. So here's an example of, where Krishna gave the opportunity, even though with a change of body he could remember. So there's another proof that Krishna is the cause of this knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So if we want to forget Krishna, Krishna will actually give us that opportunity, and he did. We've all forgotten Krishna at some point. Why? Because we wanted that. How can you try to be Krishna and remember Krishna? How can you try to imitate Krishna when you remember you're a servant of Krishna? It doesn't work. So you give him this false ego and so forth and so on. So those who are intelligent, though, are going, didn't really work out. I don't want to play this false game anymore. It doesn't work. I want to get back to, my real nature, blissful, full of knowledge and eternal, back in the spiritual world. Just remembering Krishna always, whatever, just purely serving Krishna. Because this made me, I was happier then. I don't have to be insane anymore. I can be sane, happy, servant of Krishna. So then Krishna gives knowledge and remembrance. I remember when I was about 7, 8, 7, 6, my mother would pay me for picking up the leaves in the yard, a certain amount, and I'd run to the candy store and buy something with that. So I remember she got me in the mode of goodness as best as she could. I remember I was out there cleaning up the weeds or whatever, and the sky, I remember just having this, the sky was, the way it was colored, blue, and I just remembering, I mean, I didn't know his name was Krishna then, at least with my conditioning, but I remembered Krishna. I remember just having the most wonderful feeling. You know, somehow that was, I had a window opened up. It's like, wow, but that was Krishna. You know, Krishna gave me that opportunity, remembrance. It's a wonderful feeling, wonderful experience. And knowledge came with that. Like if I continue this route the way I'm going, I'm going to go to a heavenly planet, but it's not the direct path. I remember having it's not directly the spiritual world, it's to heaven, to the spiritual world, instead of straight to the spiritual world. Anyway, where does this comes from? It's Krishna. Remembrance. I must have had a desire to remember him, and he gave me that opportunity. Anyway, I'll stop here. Any comments or questions? Yeah. Krishna's there what? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how the difference of opinion of persons are, can you explain something?
Sure, yeah, that's a nice request. He's saying, you know, the Rajasuya sacrifice, Sahadev is in Krishna's. Krishna's in everybody's heart. He's in Sahadev's heart. He's also in Shishupal's heart, yet we have two different operations going on there. And he wants me to say something about that. Well, you know, yeah, Krishna is in everybody's heart. Ultimately, he wants all of us back home. He wants everybody back in their where they'll be happiest. I mean, he's purely loving, so he wants everybody happiest. So, and every jiva, millions of years, they adopt different mentalities. And Shishupal might not be the best example, because isn't he Jai and Vijay? So, right? I think Shishupal is Jai or Vijay, right? Am I right? Yeah, for sure?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry. I can't remember. So many names. So, if he's Jai and Vijay, he wants, they both want, Jai or Vijay, or whichever one he is, wants to go back to the spiritual world as soon as possible, and Krishna wants him back in the spiritual world as soon as possible. So there's such an arrangement so that can get done. And Sahadev, he's here just associate, Krishna's eternal associate. Wherever Krishna goes, he goes and has pastimes with Krishna. So he's playing the role of, purely serving him. And yeah, wherever he goes, and as is this, like Arjuna, associate, eternal associate. So wasn't cursed to be a demon or anything like that. So Krishna in the heart is encouraging him to act in this particular way, and he's totally cool with it also because he purely loves Krishna. Yeah, but if we use maybe another analogy, we'll throw in another one in there. Like maybe there's a real demon, like I don't know, who's a real, I don't know, Putana's there also, or whatever. There's a real demon there. I mean, it's a real demon. It's not somebody who was in the spiritual world that got cursed, but actually a real demon that wants Krishna dead, wants the devotees to suffer, or whatever else. Or I'll just use this analogy. There's a story of a book distributor in New York City. It's a she, and she was distributing books, and this demon just beat her up. And somehow he ended up, the book went in his bag, and then she beat her up, and he didn't know the book was in his bag, and he went back home, saw the book, and threw it in the garbage can. And his maid, and he ripped it up. So his maid saw it in the garbage can, patched it up, and put it on his bookshelf. Well, that person's life became really bad. Divorce, illness, everything. And he got to the point where he's about to commit suicide. Because you offend a devotee, sorry, you get some reactions for that. Some heavy ones. Especially some female, frail body, that's just really bad. So anyway, and then, I can't remember this story. Either the book fell off the shelf or he saw it and he was just like staring at it, and he picked it up and read it and became a devotee. And went to the temple, saw it in the back of the book, and apologized and gave a big donation or something like that. So that was like a real demon, And Krishna's in his heart also. Now Krishna is definitely not saying go beat up this devotee. I mean, I can't imagine that. I mean, I don't know for sure, but we all have our conditioning, this and that, and so definitely I know. I mean, it's tough as a devotee to always make sure you're doing the right thing, but certainly we always let's just use a smaller. I shouldn't have 2 glubjamins today. I really shouldn't. And it's not going to be good for me. Senses are going to get agitated more. And that's going to be a little risky for my spiritual life. I really shouldn't have 2 glubjamins. But this devotee just offered me one out of the blue. I already ate one. Honored one. And it must be Krishna's arrangement. Even though I know it's not that, and I should pass it up, let's say. But somehow I crossed that line a little bit. So it's the same way with, with everything. Until we're totally pure. Are we perfectly doing exactly what Super Soul wants us to do at every moment? I think we can all here admit that we're not that pure yet. Right? I mean, y'all are doing a great job, but I'm assuming you're not totally purified yet. No. So Krishna's giving guidance, and we're following it to a general degree, but not perfectly. Yeah. Is that okay? Okay. Any other comments or questions? Yes.
Just wanted to say, about your experience in book distribution. Krishna makes us feel like we are nothing.
Well, if we need to be humbled, He'll make us humbled. Yeah.
Actually, in every service,
Yeah.
every service Krishna makes us. If a person is doing sincerely, whatever service, Krishna will make us like realize that we are servant to the servant to the servant. Whether you clean your temple or do garland service or pujari service,
Yeah.
definitely book distribution is especially blessed by Swami Prabhupada. There you get really very quick. We have also this opportunity to do book distribution for 5 or 6 years, traveling something.
Oh.
You feel like somebody will do it. When you are doing book distribution, it's not you are doing it, somebody else is doing it.
Yeah. Shakti's there, huh? Yeah, we get that realization with any service, you're right. And he's saying that with book distribution, it's
If somebody is doing sincerely under the guidance,
you have to doing it sincerely, under guidance. Yeah. Then Krishna gives the mercy in that way, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's only because I do books that I shared my book distribution story. That's my service. But any service. Yeah, the strangest things happen, right? When we do service, like what this what do we do with this one? You can just surrender, right? You just go, okay, guess that was for my purification, right? Yeah. If we're puffed up, Krishna will humble us. If we're too insecure, like under humble, then He'll puff us up a little. Well, not puff us up, but give us some confidence. Yeah. It's the ultimate balancer, equalizer. Helping us get to the point where we can chant Hare Krishna purely, at least more and more purely. That's what He arranges, so we can call out to Him more purely. Right? Yeah. John. Anything else? Yes, so thank you for your comments and being here. Glories to your service. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari.